coding SBL with LSBCA. In this video, we are going to talk about the exam technique. Proper planning prevents poor performance. This is the key to SBL exam. So the proper approach would be reading, planning and writing. Remember, don't just directly jump into writing your answers after reading any requirement in the SBL paper. You need to plan your answers and then start writing it. So, first up, the reading and planning part. You will ideally spend 45 to 60 minutes in this planning of your answers. So, how do I read and plan my answers? You must proceed in this sequence. First, read the introduction or background, and then the requirement, and then the exhibits. So, first of all, the introduction or background. Many students skip this and they directly jump to requirements or exhibits. But in my opinion, this is very important. You must know what the company is, where the company is, what does the company do. Then only you will be able to decide the answers to be drafted in such a manner. Your answers have to be customized to that company in which the case is related to. So, first read the introduction or background of your paper. Now comes the requirement part. After reading the introduction or background, the next step is the requirements. Now, while reading the requirements, you don't have to just read, you have to plan your answer. So, for every requirement, you must write down or highlight the role. What is your role? Whether you are the auditor or the member of finance team or the member of the accounts team or whatever the role is asked of you, because your answer will be drafted in such manner. Then what is the format asked of? Whether the examiner has asked you to prepare a report or to write a letter or to write an email or to prepare presentation slides, etc., for your particular requirement. This is crucial for the professional marks. Then, who are your audience? Whether you're preparing the report for some finance director or some finance manager, or whether you're preparing some notice or whatever the letter is for some common persons who don't understand the financial language, then the requirements and the preparation of such document would be different. So know your audience before writing your answer. Then comes the verbs. Look for the verbs asked of in the question, because each verb means different thing. Now I will not explain all these verbs in this video. There will be a separate video for each and every verb. But just know what has the examiner asked, whether to analyze or to recommend. Such kinds of words, look for them in the requirements. Then the task. What are you actually supposed to do? Whether you're required to assess the performance or analyze the situation and make some recommendations, or you're asked to discuss some present situation, whatever it is, this would be the main body of your answer. Then comes the mark allocation. Mark allocation is very important for the time management in paper. You must know a question carries how many marks, and then decide your time according to that mark allocation and do not cross that time. Then do not forget about the professional skills. Whether the examiner has tested you in a particular question on the commercial acumen or the professional skepticism, whatever skill is asked in that particular question, you have to present and prepare your question in such a manner. And then comes the technical concepts or the models. You must look for the keywords. For example, if something about external environment is mentioned, then it must click that you can prepare the answer on the basis of pestle model. Write down these concepts or models on which you're going to base your answer within this plan only. Now prepare this plan for each and every requirement, because that way, while you're attempting the actual question and while you're writing down the answers, it will be easier for you to recall. Then comes the exhibits. After you've read about the introduction and now then you have read about the requirements, then comes the exhibits. While reading the exhibits, make note of the important points in the scratch pad or highlight whatever information, because now you know what is required. So according to that, you can highlight the important information which will help you in drafting your answer. You can also mark which requirement is in which exhibit and which exhibit relates to which task, so that you can refer back easily. Now that we have read and planned our answers, there comes the next step, that is the writing. SBL, as I keep saying, is a professional exam, so you have to be professional while writing your answers. For example, if your question has asked you to prepare a report, so you have to prepare a proper format for a report. For example, the proper format of the report is that first you have to write to and then from, then there would be that a little para of introduction. You have to write down the word introduction as well, and then write 2 3 lines about whatever the report is about. Then comes your body of the answer. This can be either freeway or according to some model that you have decided. Then you can write, if you want to draft now, since it's computer based examination, you can just write down your headers of any model, leave some spaces in between, and then write down your answer here later on, so that you, while writing, you do not miss on the format. Then after that, conclusion. This is must. You cannot leave your answer without this. The examiner will look for the conclusion after this question. Then another point. For SPL paper, avoid writing bullet points and also avoid writing big paragraphs. Small paragraphs is the right format for writing SPL exam. Each paragraph would be explaining every point that you write. It should be a bit explanatory. Then follow the format. As I said, know what format is asked for and prepare your answer accordingly. Then, while writing down your answer, we have this habit of getting so indulged in our question or our answer that we forget to refer back to the data. Make sure you refer back to the exhibits to make sure that you have not missed any other points. Then comes the most important point, keep track of time. While you're writing the answers, don't get so indulged that you forget about time. Sometimes, when we really love some concept or we know a lot about some concepts, we tend to overwrite. make sure you avoid that mistake, because that question is anyhow not going to give you more marks than what are assigned to it. So allocate your time according to the marks assigned and then move on to the next question. Now, here are some mistakes that you must avoid while writing your SBL paper. First up, we have: do not fail to extend your answer. Now, don't just write pointers. You have to explain whatever you're saying. If you're mentioning some political aspect, then you must explain how that impacts this company. Just explain it. Don't just write the pointers. Then, as I said, apply. You must apply it to the case scenario. Because if you don't, the examiner is not going to give you any marks. He is not testing your concept, he is testing your application to the real case scenario. Then refer. Always refer to the exhibits. Don't just randomly write. Even if you get some data about any particular point or model, make sure you refer to the exhibits. Sometimes we have a lot of information that is given in the exhibits, but we miss it because we get lost while writing the exam. Then do not forget about the professional marks. I keep repeating and saying that professional marks are very important. You have to write professionally and write in the proper format that is asked of you. So please make sure you avoid these mistakes in your paper. Now, here are some other important key tips or pointers, as whatever you like to say. First one is the sequence. Uh, I know, it is mostly up to you that whatever sequence you want to follow, you can follow in the exam. But in the SBL exam, the examiner, as per the examiner reports, they said that they look for a proper sequence of the answers. They have prepared and designed the question paper in such manner because they expect of you to proceed in that manner. So try if you can follow the sequence. But in the last 1 hour, just take a break, watch what is the time, and allocate the marks accordingly, and then pick up the quick marks first. Because at that time, what matters is the easy marks that you can gain as much as in the time remaining. Then please remember that models are not always the best structure for an answer. Sometimes we just unnecessarily look for the models in the question, but the model restricts the answer. There are some other important information or data that can't be fit into that model, but it is crucial for the answer. So don't unnecessarily write the models or structure your answer around them. Your answer can be structured even without them. If you can write your answer better with the data provided, don't unnecessarily write the models. Then the financial information. If the examiner has given you some financial information in the question, then chances are that they probably expect you to comment on this. Just include this in any of your whatever relevant. Make sure that's relevant to your answer. Don't unnecessarily write it, but make note of it. Just give some commentary on it. Stress words. Look for the stress words in the paper. For example, examiner might have emphasized on something in the paper, so probably the examiner wants you to consider those points as well. So make sure you include those in your answer. Then, as I keep saying again and again, get into the character while writing the SBL exam. This is the most important and crucial thing, that you get into the character, whatever the role is asked of you. Because just imagine, once you're professional, you have to write down the exam in such a way that you are a professional and someone is paying you to know what they should do now, or to prepare a report or whatever it is. Because This paper is preparing you for the real world job roles of such kind. So these were the important tips and tricks that I could compile as per my experience of appearing in the SBL exam. I hope you can also benefit from these tips and prepare and pass your SBL exam. Thank you. See you again.